alternate.org/story/48856. The title is Why Sexist Language Matters. And this teacher talks about how she's been teaching sociology, a sociology course at the University of North Carolina on gender inequality. And so she talks about all these issues, and one that she wanted to focus on was that both men and women in my classes have the most trouble understanding. So this topic has the most misunderstanding for a lot of people. Or as she sees it, share a strong unwillingness to understand sexist language. And she doesn't refer to such words as bitch, whore, and slut. What she focuses on is words that students, all of us, every single day, use and consider it to be just fine. They are called male, so-called generics. Some of these words refer to persons occupying a position like postman, chairman, freshman, congressman, fireman. Other words refer to the entire universe of human beings such as mankind or he. Then we've got manpower, man-made lakes, and oh man, where did I leave my keys? There's manning the tables in a country where children learn that all men are created equal. The most insidious from my observations is the popular expression, you guys. Please don't tell me it's a regional term. I've heard it in the Triangle, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, and Montreal. And now by this point, I'm already reading this article word for word, so these are not my words. I'm just reading it for all of you. I've seen it in print, national magazines, newsletters, and books, and even if it were regional, it doesn't make it right. I'll bet we can all think of a lot of practices in our home regions that we'd like to get rid of. I sound defensive, I know, but that's because I've so often heard, and not only from students, what's the big deal? Why does all this manning and guying deserve a place in my list of items of gender inequality and justify taking up inches of space in the newsletter of a rape crisis center? Because male-based generics are another indicator and, more importantly, a reinforcer of a system in which man in the abstract and men in the flesh are privileged over women. Some say that language merely reflects reality, and so we should ignore our words and work on changing the unequal gender arrangements that are reflected in our language. Well, yes, in part. It's no accident that man is the anchor in our language and woman is not. And of course we should make social change all over the place. But the words we use can also reinforce current realities when they are sexist or racist or heterosexist. Words are tools of thought. We can use words to maintain the status quo or to think in new ways, which in turn creates the possibility of a new reality. It makes a difference if I think of myself as a girl or a woman. It makes a difference if we talk about Negroes or African Americans. Do we want a truly inclusive language or one that just pretends? Before I discuss words like freshman and you guys reinforce the gender inequalities on my list above, let me tell you about an article that made a difference in my own understanding of sexist language. In 1986, Douglas somebody, a philosopher, wrote a parody of sexist language by making an analogy with race. His article is called A Person Paper on Purity in Language. Creates an imagery world in which generics are based on race rather than gender. Okay, so now we're talking about gender, now we're moving to race. And that word, people should use fresh white, chair white, and yes, you whiteys. People of color would hear, all whites are created equal, and be expected to feel included. Substituting white for man makes it easy to see why using man for all human beings is wrong. Yet women are expected to feel flattered by freshmen, chairmen, and you guys. And can you think of just one example of a female-based generic? Try using fresh woman with a group of male students or calling your male boss chairwoman. Then again, don't. There could be serious consequences for referring to a man as a woman, a term that still means lesser in our society. If not, why do men get so upset at the idea of being called a woman? And why do so many women cling to freshmen, chairmen, and you guys? I think I know why. Though it doesn't make me feel any better. Man is a high status term and women want to be included in the better group. But while being labeled one of the guys might make us feel included, it's only a guise of inclusion, not reality. If we were really included, we wouldn't have to disappear into the word guys. I'm not saying that people who use you guys have bad intentions, but think of the consequences. All those man words said many times day by day by millions of people every single day. Cumulative reinforce the message that men are the standard and that women should be subsumed by the male category. We know from history that making a group invisible makes it easier for the powerful to do what they want with members of that group. And we know from too many past and current studies that far too many men are doing what they want with women. Most of women can see a link between calling women sluts and whores and men's sexual violence against women. We need to recognize that making women linguistically a subset of man or men through terms like mankind and guys also makes women into objects. If we as women aren't worthy of such true generics as first year, chair, or you all, then how can we expect to be paid a man's wage? Be respected as people rather than objects, sexual or otherwise, on the job and at home. Be treated as equals rather than servers or caretakers of others. Be considered responsible enough to make our own decisions about reproduction. Define who and what we want as sexual beings. If we aren't even deserving of our place in humanity and language, why should we expect to be treated as decent human beings otherwise? Now and then someone tells me that I should work on more important issues, like men's violence against women, rather than on trivial issues like language. Well, I work on lots of issues, but that's not the point. What I want to say, and do say, if I think they'll give me the time to explain, is that working against sexist language is working against men's violence against women. It's one step. If we cringe at fresh white and you whiteys, and would protest such terms with loud voices, then why don't we work as hard as changing freshmen and you guys? Don't women deserve it? If women primarily exist in language as girls, parentheses children, sluts, and guys, it does not surprise me that we still have a long list of gendered inequalities to fix. We've got to work on every item on the list. Language is one we could work on right now, at this very moment, if we're willing. It's easier to start saying you all instead of you guys than to change the wage gap tomorrow. Non-sexist English is a resource we have at the tip of our tongues. Let's start tasting this freedom now.